Welcome to the Islanders' journey, where hockey legends and Long Island accents collide. Today, we're diving into one of the most storied franchises in the NHL, the New York Islanders. Whether you know them as the team that ruled the 80s or the squad that once made every other team quiver in fear, one thing's for sure, they've been a part of hockey history longer than your uncle's fish stories. Get ready for tales of dynasties, epic comebacks, and yes, even a few missteps, because what team doesn't have them? Stick around, because if you're an Islanders fan, you already know this is going to be one wild ride. And if you're not, well, we'll still make you wish you were. So grab your seat, put on your best "Let's Go Islanders" chant, and let's take a trip through time. And remember, no need to check for ice. We're already skating on it. The early years, 1972 to 1979. The New York Islanders entered the NHL in 1972 as part of an expansion that saw the league grow to 14 teams. The Islanders' birth was part of a major shift in the NHL. And despite the high hopes of the franchise, the early years were marked by struggles. They joined the league alongside teams like the Atlanta Flames, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Buffalo Sabres, led by their first ever head coach, Al Arbour. The Islanders struggled in their first season, finishing with a 12-66 record. But the franchise was just beginning, and the future was bright. The 1970s were a formative time for the Islanders. In 1972, they drafted a future Hall of Famer, Billy Smith, whose goaltending would later become a foundation for their dynasty years. Building the foundation, 1980 to 1983. The 1980s marked a transformation for the Islanders as they began to emerge as contenders, with a core of players that included Mike Bossy, Brian Trottier, and Dennis Potvin. The Islanders began to dominate the NHL, making their presence felt in a big way. In 1980, the Islanders finally reached the pinnacle, clinching their first Stanley Cup victory by defeating the Philadelphia Flyers in a series that saw the Islanders take the championship in 6 games. This victory was just the beginning, and it was clear that the Islanders were a force to be reckoned with. Mike Bossy's exceptional goal-scoring ability and the leadership of Captain Dennis Potvin were key to their success. The Islanders, however, weren't just about offensive power. Their defensive game, anchored by Potvin and the stellar goaltending of Billy Smith, made them one of the most complete teams in the league. In the next 3 years, the Islanders won 3 Stanley Cups in a row, making them one of the best teams in NHL history. By 1983, they had captured their 4th consecutive cup, a feat that has rarely been matched in hockey history. The Dynasty years, 1980s to 1990s. The Islanders' dominance continued throughout the 1980s, under the guidance of head coach Al Arbour. The team maintained a high level of success, both in regular season play and in the playoffs. They made their mark by being the first team to win 4 Stanley Cups in a row, a feat that still has not been repeated. Players like Clark Gillies, Bob Nystrom, and Butch Goring became fan favorites as they helped fuel the Islanders' remarkable playoff runs. Meanwhile, Mike Bossy continued to break records, becoming one of the greatest goal scorers in the league. But as the years went on, the Islanders' dynasty began to crumble. The mid-1980s saw an end to their championship run, and by the early 1990s, the team was entering a rebuilding phase. Despite this, the impact of their success on the franchise and the NHL was lasting, and the Islanders remained a force to be reckoned with. Rebuilding and struggles, 1990s to 2000s. The 1990s and early 2000s were a period of struggle for the Islanders, as the team faced difficulties both on and off the ice. The loss of key players, combined with changes in management, created an era of inconsistency. During this time, the Islanders saw some individual brilliance, with players like Alexei Yashin and Zygmunt Palffy providing sparks of excellence. However, the team was often mired in mediocrity, missing the playoffs year after year. In 2000, the Islanders made a bold move by selecting Rick DiPietro first overall in the NHL draft, hoping to find a franchise goaltender to lead them into a new era. While DiPietro's talent was undeniable, his career was unfortunately riddled with injuries, and the team's rebuilding efforts struggled to bear fruit. A New Hope, 2010s to present. As the 2010s began, the Islanders saw a resurgence led by young talents like John Tavares, the franchise's top pick in the 2009 NHL Draft. Tavares quickly became the face of the team, bringing a renewed sense of hope and excitement to the Islanders fan base. However, despite Tavares' leadership and the presence of key players such as Matthew Barzal and Anders Lee, the Islanders struggled to make a deep playoff push for much of the decade. The team's fortunes changed in the late 2010s when Barry Trotz, former head coach of the Washington Capitals, took over as head coach in 2018. Under Trotz's guidance, the Islanders found a new identity, a hard-working, defense-first team that excelled in the postseason. In 2020, the Islanders reached the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 1993, signaling a return to relevance for the storied franchise. Although they fell short of the Stanley Cup that year, the team showed that they were once again contenders, the legacy of the Islanders. The New York Islanders have made a strong impression on NHL history. From their legendary 4 consecutive Stanley Cup championships to their ongoing efforts to rebuild and stay competitive, the Islanders have proven their resilience and commitment to greatness. The Islanders have given us moments of brilliance that will be remembered forever. Their dynasty of the early 1980s remains one of the greatest achievements in the history of professional sports, and their current team is continuing to build on that legacy. Today, the New York Islanders continue to play at a high level, representing Long Island and its passionate fan base with pride. From their rich history to their bright future, the Islanders are a team that will always be remembered as one of the cornerstones of the NHL. Thank you for taking this journey through the incredible history of the New York Islanders. Whether you're a lifelong fan or new to the team, there's no denying the impact this franchise has had on the world of hockey. We hope you've enjoyed this look back at their history, and we'll see you in the next video.